As a wedding photographer, your relationship with other vendors can make or break your business. But here's what's crazy. Most photographers sabotage these relationships without even realizing it, killing their chances of getting those valuable referrals. That's why I'm so excited about today's podcast episode with a top wedding coordinator. We're diving into the exact behaviors that make vendors eager to recommend you to their clients. You'll discover what makes coordinators add photographers to their referral list and what gets them blacklisted. Our guest shares real stories of photographers who gained or lost thousands of dollars in bookings based solely on their vendor relationships. Some of these mistakes are so subtle you'd never notice you're making them, while others are simple fixes that can make you the favorite photographer of every wedding coordinator in town. Think about it. Some of the most successful photographers aren't just talented, they've cultivated relationships with vendors who send them clients year after year. Most photographers focus on impressing the couple, not the vendors working alongside them. But the real question is, who do you think books more weddings? The photographer with amazing photos or the one with amazing vendor relationships? Hey guys, welcome back to Shutterbug Club. I have an in-person guest today. This is Amber Andrew. Hi Amber.
Hey!
Amber, why don't you go ahead and just tell everybody who you are and what you do?
I own a company called The Perfect Day Company. We specialize in day of coordination for event couples all around the Four Corners area. And we also do some other events like baby showers and corporate events on the side. But we really are like a team of coordinators. So my role right now is a lot of managing and training of our awesome team. But that's kind of what we do.
How many people do you have in your team?
Right now, we do venue management as well. So between our venues and our coordinators, we have 18.
That's crazy. That's so many
18 people texting me. I told my husband I think we might be ready for middle management.
Yeah, seriously.
I need them to be able to text someone else. But we have the best people ever. So
yeah, you've grown so much.
Yeah.
I know Amber just recently last week brought her whole team to my studio for headshots, and my studio is kind of small. I was like, oh, they keep coming. People keep showing up.
I don't think I did a very good job of practicing. She's like, yeah, of course, I'd love to be your team headshots. And I don't know if I actually fully disclosed. Like, yes, I don't know if all 18, but I think it's like 11 out of the 18, actually.
It was fun, though. I loved it. It was just
I
super
can't wait to
chaotic. Yeah, I'm excited to send them to you. So how did you get into wedding coordination?
So I started a company called Durango Event Planners 11 seasons ago. I always said that I would never do wedding planning full time because I joked that I didn't want to work on Saturdays. I think what I didn't realize is that you don't typically have to work Monday through Friday. And so now it's worked really well to be able to homeschool my kids and support my husband's businesses while I also work weekends. And so it actually has worked better than like a traditional 9 to 5. We started 11 seasons ago and did 3 to 5 events a year. It was just me. And then in 2021, we got approached by a couple who purchased the Black Diamond Lodge up north of Durango. And when they purchased it, they had about 30 events on the calendar and they didn't know how to execute those because they live in Texas. And so they approached my husband and I and were like, hey, could you take over these 30 events? It was 30 events between September 1st and the 1st of the year.
Wow.
And I still had a full-time job at the time. But we executed these 30 events. We had to do catering and their lodging and the whole 9 yards. It went so well that they asked us if we would just take over the contract. So we signed a 10-year contract with the Black Diamond Lodge to manage their venue. And that kind of allowed us to take Durango Event Planners full-time. And so we were able to hire our first staff member. And I went full-time in the business. And my husband actually went full-time in the business at the same time. And so since then, we've been able, like I said, to add all those extra team members. We also manage 2 additional venues now, and we're up to about 100 weddings a year all around the Four Corners. That's
I didn't know you
short
did
history.
100. Yeah. That's crazy.
I don't know if we technically hit 100, but if I keep saying 100, maybe it'll come true. I think technically for this year we're at like 80 something, but I'm expecting to hit 100.
That's crazy. Why don't you clarify what the difference between a wedding planner and a wedding coordinator is?
Really good questions. So most planners, and this will be really good for your audience if they don't already know this, but most planners have a 3-tiered pricing structure, which I think is pretty common in the photography world. Is that too? Okay, so you basically have the high package, which in the coordinator planner world is like a full service wedding planning contract. A full service wedding planner is doing your design, they're managing your budget, and by you I mean a couple. They're managing a couple's budget, they're managing a couple's design, and they're booking all of the vendors on a couple's behalf. So as a photographer, if you're working with a full service wedding planner, you're going to almost exclusively talk to the planner, or you're going to talk to the planner with the couple there. So like your planner is on all your calls because they're hired to do that booking, do the contract negotiation, etc. That's like the top tier. The middle tier is usually something called like event management, where you take over sometime in the middle, and then the bottom tier can be either a day of coordinating or just design. And so most planners have that 3-tiered model, and I think it would be a really good, I don't think most vendors know that that exists, and so I think they just hear, oh, wedding planner or wedding coordinator, and they assume that that just means the same thing. I think maybe the best way to describe it is like photographers have 8, 6, and 4-hour contracts, and that looks different on the day of. What that includes and what you can capture. And so I think it actually would be really helpful for most vendors to clarify with the couple what level package they've hired their planner for. What we do specifically, we call it day of coordination because that's what couples are searching for. The industry would probably call it more event management, but what it looks like is once people book with us, we do like a 2-hour kickoff call. We introduce the couple to our favorite vendors, and so if you were a photographer, you might get an email that says something like, you know, hey, so and so, I want to introduce you to Alyssa and Cameron. They're getting married August 30th at this location. They're having about 200 people. They're interested in an 8-hour contract. We'll let you take it from here. And because we just do quote day of coordination, it's really your job as a photographer at that point to kind of initiate that conversation and get on a call with them, have that conversation, and then we step in at the 30-day mark. So after you get that contract squared away and everything, we're going to step in at 30 days. We have a long call with the couple where we figure out their timeline, make sure they have the right dates and guest counts and all the things, and then we'll reach out to each vendor individually. So we reach out to photographers, the bakers, the DJs, make sure they have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and then different day of coordinators have different structures, but we have no time-based contracts. So we're just the first people to get there and the last people to leave. So we make sure the guests get where they need to go and vendors get where they need to go. Okay. So you will see like day of coordinators that have a 4, 6, or 8-hour contract, just like photographers would. But we actually now are just a day of coordination agency. Us personally, we only have one package. It's the one I just explained. So that kind of gives you an idea of like planner versus day of coordinator. There's a third that I think I don't think most wedding vendors know about, which is a venue coordinator. Different people call this different things. Sometimes people call a venue coordinator a day of coordinator. But a venue coordinator is someone that's hired by the venue to make sure the interests of the venue are protected. So sometimes those interests do overlap with a couple's or a photographer's interests, and they're making sure like the logistics go well. But typically a venue coordinator is there just to make sure the chairs get set up, the tables get set up, the bathroom's working properly, the floor is clean and swept. So I think that's one of the reasons why day of coordinators get a bad rep, because sometimes people assign the term day of coordinator to actually a venue coordinator, where a venue coordinator is there typically to just protect the interests of the venue. And I think for vendors and couples, it would be awesome to remember that the venue coordinator are paid by the venue, and the day of coordinator is paid by the couple. And so sometimes our company, because we do venue management, is both. We're both roles, but we always have a venue coordinator there and a day of coordinator, because this person's paid by the couple and is paid to protect the interests of that person, and then the venue coordinator is paid to protect the interests of the venue. Usually those things overlap, but not always, right? Yeah. There's scenarios where what's best for the venue might not be best for the couple or vice versa.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear, because I honestly did not even know the difference between a planner and a coordinator before I met you, because you're like, well, actually I'm a coordinator, not a planner.
I think it's confusing too, because people hear, like I said, vendors hear a coordinator. Okay, great, you made the intro, and so they start asking us all these questions, and I always have to come back and say, hey, you actually need to ask the couple, because we don't take over vendor communication until that 30-day mark. But that would be the best the best thing to do would just be to ask your couple, hey, I heard you hired a planner. Like, what level is our package? When do I need to start communicating with your planner or coordinator instead of you? And people use the term interchangeably too.
Yeah. Okay, that was a great introduction. We're gonna go ahead and hop into wedding hot takes.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I'm gonna read you some hot takes, and you can just say yay or nay if you like them.
Okay. I already told her earlier, my biggest disclaimer is these are my personal hot takes. We always want to make people's wedding days what they want them to be, but we're going to do it as if I were to get married this summer.
Yes, because
if I were to have them at my wedding.
Yeah. And I'm just really curious to see what Amber has to say, because she does like 100 weddings a year.
And we've seen all the different kinds. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, so she has all the ins and outs. Okay, a champagne tower.
Yes, I have executed a few badly, like crashed them all over the dining room.
Oh.
But if you can execute them well, I would say yay. I think they're fun. And they're really good photo ops.
Plastic cups do you use?
No, we used glass, and
really?
It was glass everywhere.
Oh.
Okay, short side story. In this scenario, and this will be really good for your podcast, in this scenario, we had the champagne shower set up. This wedding in particular, you can imagine an indoor dining room with 500 candles hanging from the chandelier. And we had this giant glass champagne tower. Their look was just glass and candles everywhere. So it was beautiful. We just had seated everyone for dinner, and we were getting ready to have the couple enter. And the photographer is staged by the champagne tower to capture the couple's entrance. And this guest decided it would be funny to walk over to the champagne tower and stomp on the ground, and it was right next to the photographer. So he stomped, the whole champagne tower comes crashing down all over the dining room right when we had everyone seated, right before the couple comes in. So we're all like, okay, and the guy goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe your photographer crashed your champagne tower. So it's like a mutual friend of ours, I'll tell you later, but so yes, the guest like crashed the champagne tower and blamed it on the photographer.
Wow.
And so we basically just like swept it all up before, and we just went down and told the bride like, hey, it'll be 5 minutes, we're just cleaning something up and then you can come in. But every single guest in attendance at the wedding watched the whole thing come shattering down. So that was my horror story. I don't normally tell wedding horror stories, but that one's particularly relevant because they blamed it on the photographer.
That is insane. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but yes, that's a yay. Like if I were going to
okay.
I would still have a glass champagne tower because I think they're cool.
They're so pretty. Yeah, like I love those pictures.
Yeah. I think they make champagne glasses that actually like nestle together even though they're glass. But the biggest thing is just being on, like if you had it on concrete, it wouldn't be an issue. Like we had it on this like rickety venue floor. So if you had it on concrete at a stable table, that would be my tip. Okay,
good tip for champagne towers. Okay, neon signs.
Yes.
As I have one right above
I love mine. I have one in my office too. If you follow us on Instagram, all of our reels have ours in the background.
Yeah, so, yes. I love neon signs too. Okay. First look with dad or groom.
No first looks.
At all? Okay.
I think that's controversial in the vendor world. I think most vendors want first looks because I think they think it's logistically easier, which it might be, but that seems so dumb to jeopardize a couple's experience for something that's logistically easier. I was pressured by my photographer to have a first look at my wedding, and I regret it.
Really?
I loved my photographer. I have nothing bad to say about him. But I do feel like I was so young, and he was like, oh, we should have a first look so you can get your pictures out of the way, and then you can be at cocktail hour. And I kind of feel like we missed out on the like grand effect of like walking down the aisle. I personally would not. And I tell my couples all the time, like, I don't have any pressure. Don't let your photographer pressure you into it. If you want to walk down the aisle and see each other for the first time, you should do it.
That's a really
good
perspective.
I do think it's controversial though, because most photographers will be like, it's insane to have 9 bridesmaids and 9 groomsmen and 100 family members take pictures in between your ceremony and your reception. It is logistically hard. I would say these days 25% of couples do no first look and 75% do them. Yeah, but I would probably vote no.
That's really interesting. What about first looks with just a touch? Like when they don't see each other and they just kind of hold hands.
Yeah, those are great.
And like read vows. I think those are cute.
Those are cute. And I like, especially if you have a cool venue where there's something like fun to reach around.
Yeah.
You know?
Like
and
it makes cute pictures.
Yeah. Okay. I'm all for the cute pictures.
Okay. Private last dance.
Yes. Private last dances work really well to get people ready for your exit. It gives you something to do. So I actually love last dances because basically we can say, okay, everyone clear out. they're going to do their last dance, and we can line everyone up for sparklers while they do their last dance, and it's almost perfect timing for them to finish their last dance and then walk through the sparklers.
Oh,
so,
cool. Okay, that kind
of
leads me to my next one, sparklers.
Yes, always.
Yes.
If you ask me, I would be like, yes, confetti, yes, sparklers, yes, champagne.
I should already know this about you. About a fake send-off.
No, that's dumb.
Okay.
I think people do it so that if they have a shorter photo contract.
Yeah, true.
So if people have a 4 or 6 hour photo contract, they'll have someone do a fake send-off so they can get pictures of it. Mm-hmm. It breaks. No one ever goes back to dancing ever.
It kind of ruins the rest of the night.
It ruins the rest of the night.
Yeah.
So I would what I usually recommend is have some of your friends take more getting ready photos and have your photographer start later, and then you can combine that with an after party of like, let's do an actual send-off or exit and then transition to more like a campfire or like after party food vibe. So then it's like you're not trying to get everyone to go back on the dance floor. It never works.
That's really good. Yeah, I love that. Okay. Best outfit coordination.
I love that.
Me too.
I don't think I could ever get it. I don't think I've ever had a couple do it. One time at a rehearsal dinner, they did, what is it called when everyone wears jeans? There's a phrase for it. It's oh my gosh, this is going to drive me crazy. But everyone wore like jeans and jean jackets and jean jumpers for their rehearsal dinner, and it was very cute. But besides that, I've never, people give like a very wide mood board, but I've never had someone say like, everyone wear bright colors, everyone wear pink, or everyone wear, that would be my dream.
That's really cool.
And if I were to get married again, I would do that.
Yeah.
Like if it was this summer, I would like make everyone wear it.
Yeah, it really elevates the photos.
Yes, like it really does.
Yeah. I've never had anyone do it super well, but there's usually some kind of theme.
People are scared that they're going to offend people by saying like, here's what you have to wear, like it's a school uniform or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like any wedding I'd go to, I would love for someone to be like, here's what I want you to wear.
Yeah.
And I think that that's how most wedding guests are, that they actually want guidance on what to wear. So if you want to do that, you should do it.
Yes, I agree. Okay, perfect. That was the end of our hot takes.
Okay. Were they all yes? Except for first looks. Don't do first looks.
Yeah, they were all yeses, which I love. Okay.
That's awesome.
We're going to go into social media a little bit. Can you talk about how TikTok and Instagram are kind of shaping what couples expect?
Yeah, so I think this is pretty well known in the industry that people are looking to social media and Pinterest, and now that AI has entered the chat, I think that now we have this idea that couples' expectations are going to get skewed, and you start seeing all these posts from wedding vendors that are like, use this for inspiration, not expectations, and you see a lot of posts like that. I think I would agree, and I think that as vendors, our role is to like manage expectations and to be able to look at a picture and say, okay, well that is AI generated and that's not technically possible to hang that many lights from your tent. You would need 6 generators, like I do think that's part of our role, to like manage those expectations. But I think one thing that we've learned by shifting into just doing day of coordination, we accidentally or purposely shifted ourselves into a low to middle budget like market. What I mean by that is the average wedding budget in our area for like the average wedding is $45,000 to $65,000, and that's just the average in our area. I don't know if people know where you're located.
Like
Southern Colorado. So in like Colorado, like the Four Corners area, that's not Telluride or the Front Range, but like in Southern Colorado, Durango, Silverton, Ouray, the average wedding budget is between $45,000 and $65,000. Our personal average wedding budget is closer to $25,000 to $35,000, which is what I mean when I say we've situated ourselves in like a lower middle market. And I think most wedding vendors look at these beautiful pictures and they're like, oh my gosh, this is what couples want, and they shift their whole business model to, I'm going to be a luxury wedding photographer. I'm going to be a luxury wedding planner. I was like trying to think of the right word. I'm going to be a luxury DJ, and I'm going to do 10 a year, and I'm going to charge them each $20,000, and I'm only going to have to do 10 weddings. And I think that that's really what most vendors like, okay, if I had to have a 10-year goal, every year I'm going to do one less wedding, and I'm going to charge more. And by the time I'm 5 years from now, I'm going to be doing 10, $20 to $30,000 weddings. And I think that's the way the whole industry is trending. And it's been like the most pleasant surprise to be able to like purposely situate ourselves in like very affordable, realistic wedding budgets. And so I think when we look at the industry, back to your question, when we look at social media and all these luxury things, I think if that overwhelms you and you're like, oh my gosh, I like can never be there with $30,000 worth of flowers. I didn't have a $50,000 wedding budget. You didn't have a $50,000. I mean, I don't know if you did, but
not even
you didn't have a $50,000. Most photographers also didn't personally, and none of my coordinators did. I think the highest had a 45,000, but that, like, again, that's on the lower average of our area. I think it's been like a real joy for us to say, let's create a business that can thrive and support our families and create a sustainable, like, way of doing business where I'm not having to work every weekend, but still serve that, like, middle market. And I think as we watch everything get more expensive and we talk tariffs and all the political drama, weddings are getting more expensive, and I think more and more people are going to be having lower wedding budgets. And so I don't think it's a bad thing as a photographer to say, actually, my long-term vision isn't to go do luxury weddings. It's to be really, really good at this lower middle market. And how can I, like, make that sustainable and make enough money and, like, make that really cool, but not have to charge whatever, $20,000-$30,000.
Yeah.
So that was a really long answer to your social media question. But
no, I love it because that also went into, like, expected trends for the industry this next year. And I love that you talked a little bit about pricing too, because that's a really good spot to be, because you're still making enough money, but it's repeatable. So you can still have plenty of work to make it through the year.
So and I think this would be a great idea for a photographer, and I actually don't know how it would translate because I'm not a photographer, but what we try to do is productize our service business. So like I said, we only have one package, and here's what that package looks like. So when I do a sales call, it's like, oh my gosh, here's what we do. Is it a good fit or is it not? Do you need a full service planner? Great. I have 6 amazing ones I can send you that I love. Or do you need just a designer and you can't afford us and you just need to hire a great, whatever caterer who can bust your tables? Like, it's been really awesome to be able to productize that. And so it's same every single time. So I can train my cleanup people to clean up. It doesn't matter if it's a 12-person wedding or a 200-person wedding. We clean up the same. We make a video at the end of the night. We, like, call through the vendors in this exact same order. We, like, make the timelines in the exact same layout. I wish I brought a timeline to show you. But because we've done that, it's not that we templated it for our couples, because every single wedding's different, but it's freed up all my coordinators, like, brain space, so that they can customize it to their couples. So they can say, like, okay, here's all the systems, and I don't have to worry about any of that. I can just worry about, like, what are you a root beer float person instead of a cake person? Or they can worry about the things that actually matter, and that's been really, really fun to like boil it all down to. It's the same package every time. It's the same service, and now we can just focus on, like, you and what you want for your wedding.
Yeah, I actually love that, and that's really interesting that you brought that up, because I actually just changed my business model to be like that.
Like a product.
Yeah, because now I only offer one package.
It's like, super scary.
Yeah, it is.
Because people are like, oh no, you have to have the middle low tier, and you have to sell, and people want custom packages. And I think it's actually been easier for me to sell, because either it's a good fit, and then we can customize within the very strict parameters of what we do and what we don't do, or it's not. And like I said, so many good photographers. If someone wants what you don't have, you're like, oh great, I have 3 friends that, like, are awesome. Like, you don't really do weddings anymore. It's like, oh, great, like, I have 3 people who, like, go ask them to do your wedding. So it's been really,
like you said, it just frees up your brain, and then you can be better at what you do.
It's easier for us to train and hire, because I'm just training them to do one thing. So it's been easier to grow our team too.
Wow. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yay.
Okay, we're going to talk about our emergency kits.
Do you want to try to lift mine up?
Yes. So this is, like, wedding coordinator versus photographer emergency kits. Amber actually brought hers with her, so if you're watching over on YouTube, you can watch us kind of unpack it. She told me to lift it, so I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, let's see. Lift it up just so you can see.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, wait.
It's not actually being dramatic. It actually is that heavy.
This is crazy. It's also huge. It's almost a paddleboard bag.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah. I did so much research. Hair and makeup artists have really cool bags. So if you were, like, looking to have, like, a cool emergency kit that had a lot of stuff, hair and makeup artists have bags that, like, have straps because they can carry them upstairs, but they also roll, and then they have all these drawers and stuff. So that was, like, my first option, but then I found these bags. For those who can't see, it's from Patagonia. I want to talk a little bit about, like, why you need a coordinator and a photographer, because I actually personally feel like photographers get handed coordinator tasks all the time.
Oh yeah,
so people are like, oh, as a photographer, I need you, are you gonna have safety pins, and are you gonna make my timeline? And I feel like those are actually your coordinator's job. So anyway, okay, and here, this is where I put my laptop and our timelines. And this is also where we put tips and marriage licenses and like and rings, like things that you like really can't lose. I have my bag air tagged in case it gets lost or stolen. This is the first aid. I've got like Narcan for drugs. I've got allergy meds, Band-Aids, like KT tape, quick clot, tourniquets. Gauze, all kinds of stuff, Motrin and stuff for period cramps and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
And here we've got, this is like my personal stuff, so I've got like my headlamp and my pocket knife, my phone chargers and lighters, hair clips. There's some batteries right there, that's not where they go, but this is like where I put like my personal stuff, like deodorant, makeup, all kinds of stuff like that.
Also, I do want to say really quick, Amber has all of her coordinators change their outfits.
Oh yeah,
3 times a
let's
day.
actually take a pause. So every wedding vendor should adopt this. We have a 3 outfit policy, and actually I make like the girls bring 5 outfits because you never know what'll happen. But the concept is we typically get to weddings between 9 or 10 a.m. and so you wear 1 outfit for setup between 9 a.m. and then you change right before the wedding, and that's when you put on your heels and your wedding dress. Not your wedding dress, but like your dress you're wearing to the wedding. About 3 or maybe 2 right before guests arrive, and then you change again for cleanup, and you have to have 3 different pairs of shoes. And I honestly think if photographers did this, it would change their life.
I agree.
Because I think you're like on your feet so long and you don't realize like you're just on your feet moving. And so if I were to wear this jacket all morning, by the time it's 3 o'clock, I'm like, it's wearing in weird spots. And like, you just don't feel good. And you're kind of sweaty and you feel gross and you've been alcohol. And so we change outfits and you're like, okay, I feel refreshed. And you like put on your lipstick and change your shoes and then you do the wedding. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot do another single hour of this wedding. And then you change into a t-shirt and like cute jeans and cute tennis shoes and you do all of cleanup. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's like game-changing. So
yeah, that's such a good tip to get through the day. Because sometimes it does feel like the hours just drag on.
At the bare minimum, like 3 pairs of shoes. Like, just do it for 1 wedding. Like, you don't even have to do it more than once. Do it for 1 wedding, and you probably will never do that again. I actually have 2 boy coordinators, and they were always like, I'm not bringing 3 outfits, and they started bringing at least 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, and Josh was like, this is, like, game-changing. I'm like, I know, I don't know where someone taught me that. It was not my idea. But
it's such a good idea.
I think I got it from a photographer. Okay, and then this is, like, the huge pack. So this is, like, our marketing materials.
Wow, okay.
This is the floral container. This one has pins, paper, tape. We sometimes have to write like thank you cards, or guests will ask us for wedding guest cards. So there's like cute cards in here that say like have wedding cakes on them.
Oh wow.
So Sharpies, pins. This is like personal care. So we've got sunscreen, bug spray, mints, gum, tampons, hand sanitizer, candles. So you never know if it's gonna be someone's birthday. Toothpicks, because I've had caterers forget toothpicks. Body tape, makeup, like nail polish and real stuff I could give out. That's like bridesmaids type requests.
Wow.
And this is like, I usually tell couples, I hate like TikTok for brides. Don't post this on TikTok. Don't post that clip because TikTok will hate you. But TikTok for brides does this like scary thing where it scares couples into like, here's the 20 things you have to remember on your wedding day. If you hire good vendors, like a good coordinator, you really shouldn't need to bring Band-Aids and safety pins and Q-tips, because how would you, you'd have to put together a bag that's this big. And I also have something called Folex, which is actually every wedding photographer should have this too. Every wedding photographer, go buy a bottle of Folex because it'll get anything out of a wedding dress.
Okay.
It's technically a carpet cleaner, but actually at my own wedding, my floral bouquet cut my hand and bled all the way down my dress. Before, because I did a first look, remember? Even though I didn't want to. So before my wedding, blood all the way down the front of my dress, and my mom brought out the Folex and got it all out, and so now I won't go to a wedding without Folex. This one time at a styled shoot, I borrowed a dress from a wedding shop, and we were having espresso martinis, and the model spilled an espresso martini all the way down the front of a borrowed wedding dress.
Oh, that's terrifying, but also a really good tip because I borrow clothes all the time, so I need a bottle.
So you need to buy Folex. And she was asking if I actually carry this around. Typically, I should stop packing it because it's a mess with audio, but typically we carry them and leave them in the office or wherever of the venue. But I have taken this up a chairlift for a wedding several times. So
wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
You never know when you're at the top of a chairlift and need some ribbon or electrolytes.
That's true, and yeah, all the way down there.
You want to show me what's in your emergency kit?
Okay. I really was not expecting that. I was like, oh, this will be a cute, fun question. And Amber's like, okay, brought my kit.
Funny enough, I actually didn't see that question until after I left the house, and I had just had it in the car because I told my husband if like the world ends, just to grab that bag. Like, you know how people make go bags? Like, we have go bags for like our kids' clothes and stuff, but I'm like, really just grab my work bag because it has so much stuff that you would actually need. I have like extra toothbrushes and stuff in it.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, here's my emergency kit. It's just a fanny pack. So I don't really have that much in here. Obviously, batteries and SD cards. But I would say one unique thing I have is just like this little camera lens that is a pocket dispo lens. So it's basically a film camera lens that you can stick on a digital camera that
Cool.
makes for some really fun pictures, and then a speaker.
I love it.
Yep.
Do you feel like a coordinator or planner should have like backup SD cards?
I feel like as a photographer, I would never think to ask the coordinator.
Okay,
If I
good.
ran out, I would never be like, do you have SD cards?
Okay, good.
So probably not.
They are expensive.
They are.
Do you want to hear a crazy story while you transition?
Yes.
This one wedding, the photographer will not be named, but my coordinator called me and she's like, hey, I just found like 3 SD cards from the wedding, like on the floor of the venue. She was cleaning up, like everyone had left, the photographer had left, and she's like, I just found these 3 SD cards. And I was like, did you call the photographer? And she's like, yeah, he's not answering. She took them and she got a hold of them the next day, and it was like all the pictures from the wedding. And she was like so mad. She was like, this is not at all my job to one. She's also like, you need to come get these right now because this is not my job to like have these in my possession at all, because if something happens to them,
Yeah.
you don't want the photographer to say your coordinator broke the SD card and now you don't have any pictures of your wedding. It was so stressful.
That is crazy. Wow.
I go, okay, put them in somewhere that's not going to lose, you're not going to lose or not get wet, and don't touch them.
Yeah.
That SD cards scare me.
Yeah. No, they scare me too, and I deal with them every day.
I know, it's scary.
That is crazy. Okay, we're going to transition into talking a little bit about how photographers and coordinators can work together and just like little vendor tips and stuff. So for photographers listening, why should they care about working well with a coordinator?
So I like to explain that couples usually go through a very, you know how when in elementary school you learned, or maybe it was middle school, the order of operations to do math?
Yes.
Couples have an order of operations to book their vendors, and I wish that all vendors knew this, but typically people almost always book one of 3 vendors first, either their wedding dress, their venue, or their planner. And I specifically meant to say planner because people don't book a coordinator that early. So you're either booking your wedding planner first and they're going to help you find everything else. They're booking their venue first and then they realize they need a planner and their venue refers to their planner. Or they're just really excited about their wedding and they go to get a bridal appointment with all their friends and do their wedding dress first. And so as other vendors, my biggest tip is to get in to the conversation as early in the order of operations as possible. So if you can make the most friends with planners, venues, or wedding dress shops, collaborate with them, style shoots with them, like just be friends with them, you're entering in earlier in the conversation. Then I think a lot of times the collaborations in the wedding industry happen way down here. Like photographers are like, oh, I'm going to collaborate with a florist. I'm going to collaborate with, I'm trying to think, hair and makeup artist. I'm going to collaborate with, but those ones are booked within like 3 or 4 months of the wedding.
Yeah.
And it's after these vendors. And so what couples usually do is they're going to ask their first vendors for recommendations. And so you really want to get in earlier. It's worked so well for our coordinating. Like we focus almost all of our network marketing on networking with venues, planners, and dress shops.
That's so good too, because I feel like the next step is the photographer.
And the next step's the photographer. So all the time people are like, hey, a lot of venues come to me and they're like, hey, can you connect us with couples? And I say, I'm further down as a coordinator and not a planner. I'm further down the line than a wedding venue. So almost all venues are referring to the coordinator, not coordinators referring to the venues. And so I think where vendors get it backwards when they're networking is like photographers being like, hey, hair and makeup artist, will you refer me? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like further down the line than you are. So you need to go up the line.
Yeah, because the photographer usually refers the hair and makeup artist.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
that's
Because
really
you've never
good.
had someone ask you for a venue recommendation.
That's
very
true.
rarely. Very rarely. It does happen, so I'm not saying it never happens. Someone might fall in love with your photography and book you first, so there's definitely exceptions. But I guess your question was, why should you network with coordinators? that was my first point, is that it's usually upline of the sales process, so people can refer to you. The second reason would be just to like establish relationships, because I refer to people who we have relationships with.
Yeah,
a lot.
That's really good. Yeah. Perfect. What are some green flags you see in photographers?
Okay, I wrote this down.
Okay, perfect. Some green flags you see in photographers that might make you want to refer them.
Okay, my biggest green flags, and these actually are controversial, so if you don't want to do these, it's fine. The first one, I started with the most controversial. The first one is no time-based contracts, and photographers are like, what are you talking about? But there's this trend in the photography world where people are starting to do no time-based contracts. It's kind of a game changer as a coordinator who does no time-based contracts, because it takes the focus off, what time are we getting there? What time are we starting? What time are we leaving? Can we fit it all into what's your day look like and how can I capture it best? It almost always means that the photographer is not there for 16 hours. Like, it never means that. What it usually means is that just opens it up to say, even if they are staying just a little bit longer, they're not having to stress if they should have a grand exit or not because their photographer there or not. And so we've started referring a lot of couples to photographers who don't do time contracts. These are photographers that'll charge by the day, or they'll either say like a weekend rate, like where we do come in and shoot the whole weekend and we'll be there for your rehearsal and you're getting ready and whatever you have to shoot. And they just do it like we do as coordinators, and they just take a break at lunchtime when there's nothing going on, or you know, they build in breaks throughout the day. So that's controversial though. As a photographer, people are like, what?
Yeah, it sounds scary, but I actually love that idea, and I feel like that's perfect for where we're at, because Amber works primarily around a lot of ski resorts, and so typically the couple will go skiing in the morning before their wedding.
And I'm like, how am I supposed to work with an 8-hour photo contract if you have a ceremony at 10 a.m., go skiing, come back and have 4 hours of chill time, and then have your reception? Like, how am I supposed to fit that in an 8-hour contract? It doesn't even work. And so it's like a cool shift in the industry, and I think photographers should be forward thinking enough to be like, how can I make that sustainable? Not that I'm asking photographers to come out and shoot for like 3 days straight and have, 12,000 photos to edit afterwards. I just think trying to figure out a way that you can like structure your packages different than time.
Yeah, I really love that concept, and
Okay, that's a green light. Second green light that's also controversial is quick photo turnarounds, and we have 2 photographers we work with right now that are doing it under a week, and it's kind of life-changing. And I honestly think no photographer has an excuse now that there's AI editing.
True.
And not that you're editing all your photos with AI, but you have a lot of support. AI is getting smarter, and that it can match your edit style. Yeah. And now I just feel like no photographer has an excuse to not turn around the gallery. And I'm seeing most photographers, it's just, and the photographers that do quick turnarounds explain this to me. They're like, it only takes me 3 days to edit a gallery. I'm either editing the wedding from 4 weeks ago, or I'm editing the one from this week. So all it is like training yourself to say, I'm going to be editing the wedding I just did instead of the one I did 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Or 4 weeks ago, or some of them are really bad. And we've actually stopped referring photographers that have any more than a 3 month. Or 6 month. We have some that are still doing 6 months, which is crazy.
Wow. Half a year to get your wedding photos back.
Especially and I get it, September's crazy. We have over 40 of our weddings are in September and October. So I understand, if you're doing that volume. So maybe you say in your busy season it's 2 weeks. I just don't think that there's a very good excuse to not do a quick turnaround now.
Yeah. No, that's...
Okay, those are my 2 controversial ones.
That is controversial.
Make every photographer hate me.
I have never edited a wedding gallery in 1 week, so...
I know, it is... But how long do you think it takes you to... Or how long... I don't know how long it typically... You could even say 2 weeks. I just am thinking, take the time it takes you to edit a wedding gallery and shift your whole timeline up and say, I'm going to edit the shoot I just shot, and then don't fill your calendar.
Yeah, and honestly, like you said, with AI, I have started editing my weddings with AI because it's easier to edit photos that are so similar.
I also want to have the disclaimer, I'm not talking about sneak peek galleries, I'm talking about the full gallery, which is crazy. I agree, that's kind of crazy. I've gone through 3 seasons with these photographers, and they've done it every time, so I know it's possible. Yeah. Because they're good.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing with editing a wedding gallery quickly is if you can still make it look good.
For sure.
Which there's some photographers who just
one of them outsources their editing, because I asked them, how do you do this? One of them outsources, and one of them, she does it all herself. She's like, I don't book more than 1 wedding a week because I want to do my galleries in a week.
Yeah, so just like plan it for yourself how you can make that manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a better experience for your clients, and you'll probably feel less stressed too.
I
you
think
can
so
get it
too.
done.
And that's what she said. She started when she had her first kid, and she was like, it was just so overwhelmingly stressful to have like 4 galleries to edit in my queue at all times.
Yeah.
And so she was like, it's way better to just say, I only have the one.
Okay, Amber, now I'm like, okay, I need to go edit your headshots. I need to go get that done.
There's no urgency on that. It's like people's wedding days. Okay. I'm just going to read the next couple quickly. Wearing leggings to a wedding. I know you're moving around a lot. I don't really think there's any reason to ever wear leggings to a wedding. But
leggings
photographers
to a wedding.
do it sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like these are great. Like, we're in the era of if you look creative, it's fine. But you have to wear something like baggy and creative. It can't be like Lululemon leggings. You cannot wear Lululemon leggings to a wedding. But people do it. So this is for your audience. Just please don't do that anymore. It's so bad. Okay. Relying on a coordinator to run your photo timeline. And I don't necessarily mean like, hey, it's time for bridal party pictures, because we do that. But the like, which pictures are first, like directing the bridal party, that should be the photographer's job. And if you don't feel like you can handle a big wedding party or a big family photo list, you should need to be bringing an assistant and charging for it, because we've had so many photographers lately who expect one of our coordinators to sit there and say, okay, so-and-so's next, and then so-and-so's next, and we need to wrangle these family members. It's really not our job. Your job's to like manage your own photo timeline. And similarly to that, we've had photographers that ask us where they should take pictures, and that just blows my mind, because I'm like,
that is kind of crazy.
I don't know your camera. I don't know your photo style. I don't know the lighting. That is not my job. I know it's complicated, but I don't know anything about it. And so for you to be like, oh, where should I take portraits? I'm like, you tell me. And honestly, if it's a new venue, it's your job to come early and come at the time and see where the light is at different times if it's a new venue for you. I don't think that's the coordinator's job to tell you where to take your pictures.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
Good. That's a common thing. This is probably a given, but I have had photographers have associate photographers that are really inexperienced, and I think you just need to be really careful with associate photographers that don't have any experience. That's probably a minute part of your listening audience. Okay, sacrificing in-person wedding experiences for amazing photos. Best example being, I have a photographer that we don't refer to anymore, because every time she shoots a ceremony, she stands in front of the front row and she takes pictures of the couple, and her pictures are amazing. Her galleries are perfect. But I feel like every time you're sacrificing the in-person experience of like the bride's mom for this photo, which is really actually not more important than the bride experiencing her daughter's wedding day. And so the same can be said about photographers who bring 100 lights or are dressing in a way that like has 100 cameras on them and are dressing in a way that's like distracting instead of like adding to the day. And so one of my big tips would just be like, be very mindful of like, this may be a better photo, but that's not worth sacrificing. And like same thing with like, we've had people say like, oh yeah, pose this way during a cake cutting, and totally ruined the moment of them like cutting their cake and feeding each other cake. It's like, are you like sacrificing the photo? It's a better photo. I'm not disagreeing with you. If we take the photo this direction with them like posing towards the light, it's going to be a way better photo than if you do it from this side. But are you like sacrificing their moment and like getting in the way of their family and friends seeing that to take the photo? Kind of a bummer.
That's a really good point, and I 100% agree with you, but also I feel like it does come down to the couple, because I have had some couples
that are like,
tell
I
me,
don't care.
and I have had some couples tell me like, do it, like be up there with us at the ceremony.
So maybe that's like, maybe I don't know that. So I think maybe that's a good point, is that you should just ask your couple, like, is this what's more important, the in-person experience? And I actually think if you do good marketing, your couple should know that before they hire you, because it'd be very clear in your photos and etc. There's some couples, and I personally just like tend toward like more of a paparazzi, like fly on the wall photo style anyway. But if you are the more like traditional portrait type photographer, they might want you more up in their face with like the perfect angle.
Yeah,
and your hair perfect.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you made though, because I feel like a lot of photographers just don't think about that.
You just
like they just aren't aware,
because you're just trying to get the best picture. And I like fully believe that every wedding should have a coordinator so that the photographer can just focus on getting the good pictures. So I do think that that's like their role. I just think sometimes it comes at the expense of the in-person experience, and I've like watched like people's faces fall because they didn't get to watch the first dance because the photographer was like in the way, and so it's just like kind of sad.
You notice all these little things that
you wouldn't know because you're behind the camera. So that was one of my things. Okay, inquiry process. we send an inquiry, or a couple sends an inquiry via email, and then you reply, hey, fill out the form on my website. Don't do that.
Okay, wait, sorry.
I know why.
When you say that, I'm sorry.
Let's just
I
say
completely
someone
blinked.
finds your email out in the universe and emails you instead of filling out the form on your website.
Okay.
And then you reply, lots of photographers reply, sounds great, I would love to check my calendar, fill out the form on my website. And I know why you do that, because we have a CRM. Mm-hmm. It triggers all your workflows. I know why people do it. Mm-hmm. And it triggers your auto response in your forms, and it gets their contact information correct in your system. So I know logistically why people do it, but it is like so deflating for couples to be like, okay, so now you want me to, I already reached out to you. Mm-hmm. You're basically like putting like a huge roadblock in them giving you money.
Yeah.
And I just don't think, I think that's where customer service starts. And I think for you to take the time to say, go in your CRM and manually trigger your workflows and manually type in their name and their phone number. And like, we have to do this too. It's not fun to have to manually type in all their information. I wish every couple would go through the inquiry form, but sometimes that's not the case. And so for them to DM you on Instagram and be like, hey, I'd love to learn more about your photography, don't reply, go fill out my form. Reply, when can we jump on a call? What's your email? And kind of add them into your CRM that way. That's like
so
a huge
good.
red flag.
Yeah.
I have to read this to you. I had the best response from a photographer this week, and I actually told him, I was like, this is such a good response, so I'm going to read it.
Also, with what you were saying, some couples are just looking for that human connection, too.
For
so
sure.
That's such a good point.
And just the quickness of it. And I just, I don't know. It's so triggering for me as a core thing. Okay, let's see. This is from John Lyons Media. So shout out to him. I do not mind sharing his name because he's a great photographer. And also his Instagram's johnlyons.love. I sent an intro. It just said, hey, John, wanted to introduce you to Tori and Justin, who are getting married. And I'm not going to tell you where or when they're getting married, but they're looking for photo and video on their wedding day. Can you send over the date available? And we're doing coordination. So if you have any questions, let us know. And so that's our typical email intro. He responded and said, Stella, one of our coordinators, sent that. He said, hey, Stella, thanks for connecting. Tori and Justin, congratulations on your engagement and upcoming wedding. Seems like you're off to a great start with venue choices, planners, and coordinators. And he used a lot of exclamation marks and smiley faces to make sure they knew he was excited. I am available on that date, but I'm currently driving up to Crested Butte for an engagement shoot, but I'll have more spaciousness to send some pricing and contract info tomorrow afternoon for you to look over. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Cheers, John. And then the next day he replied and said, hey, attached is a pricing guide with the general contracts. And so this was a great example of, he didn't say, hey, go fill out the form on my website, I'm out of town. He just said, hey, I'm out of town, I'll reply tomorrow. And it gave them what they need right away. This couple specifically is getting married this August 30th. They booked us last week. They have none of their vendors booked. And every one of these emails has replied, not available, not available, not available. And so he was the very first one to reply and say exactly what they were looking for. Mm-hmm. Hey, oh my gosh, congratulations. So exciting. You have a great venue. I'm so excited about that. I am available. I will send you more info tomorrow. And so this was literally within like 30 seconds. So he's like sitting in the car somewhere and it took him 2 seconds. He might even have a template.
Wow.
Like everyone write a template like this that when you're like at a wedding or you're whatever, not at a wedding, that's a bad example. You shouldn't email people while you're at a wedding, but like you're like at dinner with friends, you can just hit reply and say, hey, thanks, oh my gosh, what a cool date, I am available, let me send you pricing tomorrow. Yeah. Just like keeps that excitement level going. Mm-hmm. And then the next day he followed up with pricing. But 2 things people want to know is, are you available and what's the price? And then they'll jump on a call with you and they'll do all the things and they'll go through your CRM and your questionnaire and all the things. But they really want to know, are you available and what's the price? And if they can afford you and they know you're available, then they're like, that you're part of the option. So I just thought he did such a good job.
That is so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
copy that template and also go follow him on social media.
Thank you, John.
He's cute. Thank you, John. Okay, let's see if there was anything. Okay, I automatically blacklist photographers who blow out the mountains. I love light and airy photography, but people who are from Texas or somewhere that's flat, I think they're used to blowing out ugly backgrounds. Yeah. So they purposely are training themselves to blow out whatever's ugly in the background. And a lot of photographers travel in with their couples because they're friends or family, and then they like completely get rid of the background, which is a bummer because people are paying for the background.
Yeah, and I feel like so many people come from out of town.
I think that like if you are a photographer who doesn't live somewhere there's mountains, you need, even if it's not mountains, you need to practice taking pictures with a deep, what is that? Foreground. Yeah, foreground. What's the back part? deeper range of focus, I guess, is a better way. I don't know. I'm not a photographer.
Yes,
I guess I just feel like you need to practice that because you have all these photographers who are like, I'd love to come to Colorado. I'm never ever going to recommend you if I don't see pictures that have some sort of like depth.
Yeah,
where
no,
it
that's
actually
so,
has the mountains in
that's
focus.
so good because I actually don't own a camera lens that gets the mountains
Exactly.
very good.
I don't think that they do because
Yeah.
you do portraits.
That's why I always hire Jordan as a second shooter
So
because she's going to get
mountains?
those mountain shots.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. So that would be another alternative is like hire a second shooter for it. But I think if you're like, oh my gosh, why isn't anyone hiring me for Colorado? That would be my tip. You either need to go to mountains and take some pictures that have mountains in the background, or you need to just practice, even with buildings or something, getting the background and not blowing everything out. Because it's just such a bummer. And people are spending a lot of money to fly all their people to Colorado to get mountain photos and to like have that backdrop.
Yeah.
And then to like not have the pictures of it is really heartbreaking. And I've got, it's like 4 or 5 galleries a year that we get back and there's like no mountains. It's so sad.
Yeah, and they're everywhere where we're at. Like, you have to try not to get mountains.
Yeah, I know, but they blow them out in the back of the ceremony. They blow them out in all the portraits, and it's just like this whole wedding could have been shot in anywhere.
Yeah,
and it's just sad.
That's so true.
Let's see. Okay, this is the biggest red flag. Will not hire you ever again. If you take my timeline and instead of commenting or like tweaking it or giving me feedback, which I am absolutely up to, rewriting it in a different document and sending it back. Don't ever do that to a coordinator.
Oh, okay.
Because a coordinator or planner is hired to make sure all the logistics of the whole day are running together.
Yeah.
And a photographer is hired to get the best pictures possible. And so there is absolutely an intersection. I work with amazing photographers who get the best pictures possible and all the logistics go well, and that's why we work together and why I refer them. But there's a lot of photographers who don't care about all the other logistics of the day, and they'll rewrite your timelines. And it's very frustrating because then you have the couple out doing something when their hair and makeup's supposed to be there. Or you have the couple doing their grand entrance because the lighting's perfect, but the caterers are unloading right then. They want to leave for sunset photos, but the ice cream's melting. Like, there's all kinds of logistics that there's no way the photographer could know. So if you see so huge mistake on my part. I sent a timeline to a photographer once that was totally the wrong sunset time. I had sunset photos in there, but it was not the right. So I just forgot to look up the sunset time and adjust my timeline accordingly. So as a good coordinator, what you should do is take your typical template, look up the sunset time, and work everything backwards. That would make photographers like you. But the problem is I forgot to do that, and so the sunset time, so he just rewrote everything and just sent it back to me. And it was, one, very insulting, but two, it would have been much better for him to just say, hey, the sunset time is off. I really need to be doing sunset photos at this time would have been a better approach than like rewriting the whole thing. Because as much as photographers have to pick up the slack from coordinators all the time or people who don't have coordinators, photographers are really good with timelines because they have to do that so often. They're having to write timelines way more than they should have to because people think, I'm not going to hire a coordinator, my photographer will just do my timeline.
Yeah.
And so I think most photographers are really good at timelines, but when even those times they're doing timelines, they're not hired to make sure all the different logistics work together. Yeah. And so it's always very, like, the better way to handle that would be, hey, I noticed X, Y, or Z. I actually need to start earlier, or my contract ends at this time, giving feedback like that. Then I can absolutely make sure I can go in and adjust and be like, okay, great. Is this enough time for portraits? We can do that back and forth a little bit better than you taking the whole thing and like rewriting it.
That's really good. That is insulting, too, because that's your job.
That's our whole job. Next, one of my favorite photographers prints off photos at a wedding, which I'm sure you've heard of this, like during the wedding.
Oh,
I think that's really
Kara
cute.
Do that.
Kara does that.
Yeah.
Kara Kavalka does that one, and I just think that's a cute touch, and I don't think it's that hard. Especially it doesn't have to be, Jordan started doing ones with our Polaroid. It's not even like real pictures. It's just like an instant deliverable. We actually tell our coordinators, too, that very first call, just providing as much value and like where are the points in the relationship where you can just add value. And so even if it's not even like a professional printed photo, just something, just like it's a really easy way, and like it shocks couples every time. It's really cute to watch. So that's easy. And then lastly, and this just is kind of like a good tip for collaborating and networking in our industry, is we'll blacklist photographers who are never ever ever willing to like do us a favor. And I don't necessarily mean this like we're asking favors a lot, but like photographers who always say no to styled shoots and always say no to collaborating and always, and say it doesn't just apply to photographers, but just vendors in general. Like hair and makeup artists, like if you are not willing to just like get together and hang out and come to like our events and come support each other, it doesn't like blacklist you, but I'm like way more interested in working with someone who's like, yeah, of course, let's get together and like do headshots or do whatever. I had a new photographer who we actually have booked 3 weddings with already. I've never worked with her still, but she has 3 weddings with us this summer. Kristen Marie Photography. She moved to Durango. She sent me the cutest email.
I know her.
Yeah, you probably do. She's like so cute.
Social.
She's come to like every networking event we've hosted as a Perfect Day company. She's like gone thrifting with one of my coordinators. Like she's just been really intentional. But the very first interaction I've had with her, which I think has led to all these other interactions, was she first moved in. She just said, hey, I wanted to take a minute and introduce myself. My name's Kristen. My business name is Kristen Marie. I've just recently moved from Flagstaff to Durango this winter. I'm an elopement and wedding photographer, and I wanted to connect myself with some of the planners in the area since I'm sure we'll be working together in the future. If you ever need some headshots of your team, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to do a complimentary photo shoot for you guys so we can get to know each other. I like to think I'm fun to work with. I'm a digital and film photographer, and film can add a fun element to your portfolio. Here's some of my work so you can get to know my style. And she put a bunch of pictures, and then she said my Instagram's here, and a few sample wedding elopement galleries, and she sent it. And I get probably 3 or 4 new vendor emails a week. Like people moving here all the time, wanting to connect. And this one was just such a good, like, I know who you are. Like, I know your work. I want to work with you. And then, like, how can we do that sooner than waiting till you refer me to a couple? It was like, hey, can I take some headshots? Or if you move to town, you're like, call a vendor and venue and be like, hey, can I just come take pictures of your venue for you?
Yeah, she's already providing value.
We haven't even done it. I haven't even taken her up on the headshots yet. I was like, yeah, that sounds so great. And do you want to come to this party? And she came, and we've had all this stuff yet, and we haven't even done headshots, but I just remembered that as like stood out so much more than some of the other photographers who have reached out and just been like, hey, just wanted to send over my work. People like do that and don't include examples of their work. They don't exactly explain how they specialize. Like she did a really good job of summarizing, here's what my specialty is. Here's why I'm reaching out. I know you and know what you do, and I'm trying to reach out to you specifically. And also, I would love to do. She knew I had a team, like all those things. Like she did her homework. So, anyway, it's totally resulted in her booking 3 weddings with us because we've sent people directly to her. So
that's so good.
Yeah, I would just say like willingness to participate in just all kinds of collaborations, which I know you're great at. You do that all the time. But I think a lot of photographers are like, no, because it's hard to agree to do free work, and I think a lot of photographers advocate for like, you know, you should get paid for the work you do, and I would totally agree with that. But also, if you're trying to grow your business, you have to kind of have an entrepreneurial mindset of like, when I try to grow my business, I don't get paid for a lot of that work I do up front. Yeah, I'm counting on getting paid later.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's like business is all about the connections you make and the networking that you do. Like, so that's so good.
You just don't know too, like. You might do a free shoot with someone and never talk to them again, or you might do it and they might be the planner who sends you every single wedding, like for the rest of their career if you guys hit it off. So it's an easy way to like, this is a different subject, but because we manage venues, every single one of my couples, not every single one, probably 80% of my couples tell me they find their photographer based on our venue's Instagram. So if you haven't done any weddings at that venue, you basically have to do a style shoot at their venue to get on their Instagram, so then you can get exposure. There are exceptions where people book their photographers first, so they just love your work, or you have a planner refer you. But a lot of couples are looking for photos specifically of their venue so that they can see, like, how is this photographer going to capture this dining room? Yeah. And so if there's certain venues you want to get into, or if you just want to get more work in general, I would go to every venue and say, can I do a shoot in your space? Yeah. Like here.
That's really good. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Perfect.
Okay, those are my hot takes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Amber. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Our Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and Facebook are the.perfect.day.co. And then you can find us at theperfectdayco.com, and let's collaborate. We do all kinds of collaborations all the time. Yeah, reach out. My cell phone number is right on the bottom of the website. You can find us and DM us, and we will get right back to you.
Okay, thank you so much.